And welcome back to Dark Side of the Ring Unheard, the podcast from the hit Vice TV series that plumbs the depths of unaired footage, unaired insights, unaired gems from some of professional wrestling's most heralded and unheralded and so much more. I'm Jack Encarnacio. This is JP Sorrow from the Lapsed Fan Wrestling Podcast, and we're, of course, joined as always by Evan Husney, co-creator and executive producer of Dark Side of the Ring.
Yeah.
And that's a little hint of what might be.
Working what we got going on.
Yes.
1, 2, 3. Dig it, like it. Big
There's going to be a lot more than that because
want to get there.
This time on Unheard, we're going to be talking about the brother of the Macho Man Randy Savage, Lanny Poffo.
Lannans.
Do not forget that Tuesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern on Vice TV, Season 6 of Dark Side of the Ring resumes with a look at Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, an innovative mind, an underrated in-ring performer, a pioneer in the hardcore and territorial styles that influenced the 1990s professional wrestling boom, and who succumbed to drug use and other issues that come perhaps part and parcel with the kind of a figure and creative force that Eddie Gilbert was in the business. Gilbert also came from a wrestling family. His father, Tommy Gilbert, was a wrestling veteran in the Tennessee and American South circuits in the territorial days of the business. And further, Eddie's brother, Doug Gilbert, is that surviving brother of the big, wonderkind of the family, who speaks to dark side cameras for this upcoming episode on Eddie. And it's a similar story for our subject today. Lanny Poffo was the surviving brother of the Macho Man Randy Savage, and so much of what we know about Savage's biography comes from the insights his brother was able to provide, including to you guys on Season 1, the very first season of Dark Side of the Ring. In fact, the Macho Man Randy Savage Elizabeth episode is the first ever Dark Side to air.
That's right. We had produced a pilot episode about Bruiser Brody, I think in 2017 is when we filmed it. That got us the green light, for Season 1. And so the very first official interview we ever did for Season 1 was actually Lanny Poffo.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
in 2018, we got going. And, you pick up these trinkets on the road from certain people. Like I think back there, if you can cut to it, the TV back there, you can see the UWF turnbuckle, which I got from the Herb Abrams episode, which is one of my prized possessions. But this also, the Leapin' Lanny Poffo Book of Wrestling Poetry is one of the others that he himself gave us. He each a copy of this. So
we had a bunch laying around probably.
Yes.
Oh, clearly.
Returns from Barnes & Noble, of course. But no. This is amazing. What an eccentric item this is. Because, as we know, Leapin' Lanny Poffo, he was the genius. His gimmick was that he wrote poems and read them aloud to the audience with or without their permission. And he published them here.
That when he would do cameos, when he was doing cameos, he would give poems.
Of course.
Of
course.
We got several of them.
Oh, did you?
At the Lapsed Fan.
Yes,
okay.
Including
So
something
funny.
we absolutely have to ask you about. Okay, Evan, because not only is Lanny Poffo featured in the Macho Man Miss Elizabeth episode of Season 1 of Dark Side of the Ring, he is featured at certain points completely horizontal. That is to say, you folks discovered upon visiting Lanny Poffo, the brother of the Macho Man, that he had a television bolted to his ceiling at which he received signal.
Underneath his bed,
So there is a moment in that episode where you cut to him watching television, laying flat in bed.
Above his bed.
And what was it like to come upon the TV on the ceiling? People remember, that's like the Lanny Poffo meme.
That is it's an image I cannot get out of my mind forever. I mean, I remember seeing that for the first time and just being like, paused it, rewound it,
and you got him to sit down in the bed.
I remember, because usually how things go is you show up to the location, you don't bring all the gear in, you go in there, you meet the person, introduce yourself and start looking around. Where are we going to set up the interview? Where are we going to do the interview? And it was like, okay, here's my bedroom. Holy shit. And, here it is, a TV mounted to the ceiling straight above his bed. So he could lay down, in bed and have a TV.
The arms completely still by his side.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
And I just remember we're getting you in that fucking bed looking at that goddamn TV. And he was so happy to display it and to model it for us. And the first thing I was thinking is he's a single man.
Yeah, yeah.
You only could be a single man
Yes.
with something like that.
Yes.
But I don't think there's any way you could, romance somebody in bed with something
No.
right there.
No. Evan, can we please take an interview with a camera on the TV looking down at me?
Right, imagine that angle.
We wanted to show him clips like of him. No, this is real. Listen, this is real. This is real. We wanted to show him clips of him and his brother walking out to the ring, in Memphis or whatever other career highlights. We filmed it with him in bed watching it on that TV. Rather than showing him a laptop or a different TV,
Yes.
like let's fucking use it for the show, bro. And,
There's no other option.
no, and so it's kind of unfortunate that footage. Maybe we can resurface some of that here for this. We can find it here and cut to it right
Yeah, it's not hard to find.
now. But we filmed him watching shit on that fucking TV for the
And
show.
we, among the cameos we got was asking him like if he would recommend bolting a television to the ceiling.
And he said, "No, don't do it." Right?
By that point, he was like, Amazon.com. I don't recommend it because you can't go to sleep. He said, it throws off your sleep.
Of course, it's a terrible idea. Anyway,
I mean, I'd be just horrified that it would unbolt.
Fall in your face.
Exactly.
I know, yeah.
Exactly.
Well, Dark Side of the Ring in so many ways is so great because it captures the family members left behind by the wrestling business. They're not always wrestlers like Lanny Poffo was in his own regard, but it's almost like these folks. It's like they were left behind to speak on behalf of the giants that we lost. And so we're going to start here with clip number 1, where Lanny Poffo, who spent a lot of time with you guys talking about growing up savage. What was it like growing up in the underneath the tutelage of their father, whose name is Angelo Poffo, who was a professional wrestler in his own right.
Mm-hmm.
And as Lanny is about to orient us to, actually played a significant role in really wrestling's first ever national television star by the name of Gorgeous George. Let's hear how it all started for Angelo Poffo in the wrestling business.
All right, here's Lanny. Okay, here we go.
And my dad was the designated driver for Gorgeous George.
Whoa.
George was a alcoholic, but they didn't have that word at the time. He just drank a lot. And my father told him what his plan was to quit the business and then get into school teaching. And Gorgeous George persuaded him, "You've got charisma, you've got talent, you can make it in this business, give yourself a chance." So I remember November 15th, 1963, I saw my father cry for the first time because John Fitzgerald Kennedy died. And a month after that, right around Christmas, I think, 1963, we found out that George Wagner died, Gorgeous George. So he called his wife, Betty, I think her name was. And he didn't realize this, though, even though he had made $9 million in 7 years, which is true.
Wow.
He had fallen on hard times. So my father assured her, he wrote a check for, I think it was $10,000 for the funeral. Whoa. He always, my father could keep talking after we made his point. He says, if he hadn't been in the car with Gorgeous George, he would have missed his career in wrestling because it was he that persuaded my father to keep wrestling. And so my father buried Gorgeous George, and I have to laugh when people think my father is cheap. They're missing the point. Yes, he was cheap with himself on the road. He didn't stay at the Acme Ritz Central Arms Waldorf Plaza while he was on the road. He brought all the money home, and he lived in scarcity so Randy and I could live in abundance.
There it is.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's wild. I didn't know that.
I've never really noticed this before. This is the first time, like watching this clip, I can see Savage in his eyes.
Yes.
I've never, in any image I've seen of Lanny Poffo, I'm always like, I can't believe these guys are brothers. But that was the first time, like I could see it. Like if you just cropped out his eyes, you could really see it. It's amazing.
He'll get into the voice later. And he actually, it's fascinating. He just like, he transitions into the Macho Man.
I like it. Big fan.
He just transitions into the voice seamlessly, almost like he's not trying to put on a show. Like when he tells stories about Randy, he does the voice almost subconsciously. It's pretty interesting. Now, Gorgeous George, of course, was an interesting name to bring up because ultimately the Poffo family would essentially, as far as we can tell, own the rights to the name Gorgeous George, the moniker.
Is that right?
And who became Gorgeous George?
He had the manager, right?
The manager.
Right.
1999, Randy Savage's girlfriend was nicknamed Gorgeous George on television.
Wow.
And they carried the rights to that.
That's wild.
Yeah. So they grew up baseball fanatics.
Oh, yeah.
We know that Randy almost had a Major League Baseball career, or at least he came about as far to becoming a Major League Baseball player as any other pro wrestler you'll hear about. And they spent, a boyhood going to both Comiskey Park as well as, the Chicago Cubs games, Wrigley Field, divided loyalties as it regards Chicago baseball teams, but they lived close to a baseball field. They obsessed over baseball. And here in this clip, which is clip number 3, Lanny explains how Randy would be very much kind of the disciplinarian on and off the field. And really, it gives us a nice snapshot, even though Randy was, what was it? Was it 2 years younger? Yeah, 2 years younger.
Lanny was.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lanny was 2 years younger.
This becomes a fascinating dynamic between the two. So here they are as teenagers, and a little bit at the end as far as the mystery of the Macho Man Randy Savage voice.
Oh.
And where, in fact, did that come from?
Ooh, I like that.
Here we go, the origin story.
Growing up with Randy, it was like he was my second father. He was in charge of discipline. He could lecture time. It's lecture time. Every day is lecture day. But he did it in such a way that I felt good about myself. He made a little white bread sandwich of, yeah, you're doing real good, but here's the trouble, and a little something like that, and then you'll be great. Okay, can you just handle that? And then, that way I didn't want to hang myself in my room.
Whoa.
Excuse
Jesus.
me?
He looks right in the camera. He says that several times. Like, in other words, like if he criticized me too harshly, I would have taken my own life.
That's unbelievable.
Oh, that kind of hints at maybe some other
Yeah.
dynamics that were at play
Yeah.
there between them. But okay, here we go. I backed it up a little.
Great. Okay, can you just handle that? And then, that way I didn't want to hang myself in my room.
Or that's really dry humor.
The way he says it too, like he's just nodding, like that's a normal thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah, very much. Yeah, very much. Very much.
Exactly.
In my teenage years, what was it like being with Randy as a brother? I would ask him sometimes, if he scored with that girl, and he would tell me things like, a person's reputation is all they have. So if I did or didn't score, I wouldn't tell you, and I wouldn't tell anybody, because it might get back. Ooh, yeah. So he was serious about that type of thing.
yeah.
Would he always
There it is.
even in his teenage years have that quintessential Randy voice?
No, he didn't always have that voice. I think it came from marijuana and yelling. Because it kind of
That's the best. That's the best. I love the honesty in that because he was a big time, stoner,
Yeah.
and I think the rasp, from that and yelling, he probably was a pretty.
Yeah, sometimes I just like to sit back, get it done, put a little one between the lips, smoke it, and then I just sit back and take a nap.
That's right. Or not. Maybe you climb to the top of the mountain and you're
Then
going.
sometimes I go back up. I say, you know what? There are 2 things I'm going to accomplish. Number 1, at some time, even though I'm smoking away, I'm going to get my hands on the Snake Man. And then number 2, I'm going.
All right.
All right, clip 3.
Wait. I don't think we were done here.
Oh, it's still.
With the weed?
Yeah, we just got to get the outro. Here we go. Let's hear
please.
it again too because it's so amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Quintessential Randy voice?
No, he didn't always have that voice. I think it came from marijuana and yelling. And because it kind of got worse as time went on.
Amazing.
By the way, marijuana spelled MARJUANA for him. There's no I.
No I,
marijuana.
Yeah.
Marijuana.
He was ready with that. He was ready with that line, and that's the secret, I guess.
One thing. Speaking about, Randy and being a stoner. Some like this revealing fact to me that Lanny. I think as we were packing up or something, he would just continuing to fill in the blanks on, Randy. And he was like, you know what Randy's favorite television series was? And I'm thinking like in my head, like, okay, he's, he likes the weed, what's he watching? What kind of humor is he like? I'm
Dobie
thinking like
Gillis or something.
I was thinking, or like Simpsons. Okay, like what are you about to hit us with? But no, he was like, Randy's favorite show was the Trailer Park Boys.
Get the fuck out of here.
I know.
That's wild.
Isn't that amazing?
That's wild.
Oh, and he just loved Bubbles. And I'm just like,
Randy's favorite TV show was Meet the Press.
Morning Joe.
Meet
Okay.
the Press Slam.
What does that tell us about Randy?
I mean, it's just that, I don't know, that because that talks about, his taste and what he dials into as funny. It's very sophisticated to me, his sense of humor. And I don't know, that, I've always looked at Randy as sort of a, no pun intended, genius.
Sure.
In terms of just like, mastering just the personality end, the charisma end of wrestling, and the fact that he's honing in on a show like the Trailer Park Boys.
Yeah.
And kind of identifying the brilliance of that show is amazing.
It's interesting too, because I can't imagine Randy Savage laughing.
I know.
Like you think about it.
So serious.
I can't think of a time I've seen him smile or like laugh. So you'd think immediately it'd have to be something really gritty and serious, and not comedy.
NYPD Blue.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Big fan of Hill Street Blues.
Yeah.
Love it.
I love Dick Wolf's work.
Yeah.
Big fan of Dick Wolf.
Yeah.
Law and Order.
Yeah, right. Now, Trailer Park Boys, man, how crazy
That's
is
a
that?
cool insight.
How about them
That's
apples?
funny.
All right, go ahead.
Lanny teaching us so much about the giant that was Randy Savage, but Lanny, of course, has his own story. If you cue up clip 4, we'll get to it.
Sure.
Lanny breaks into the business as a professional wrestler, just like his brother Randy does, and there comes a point where Lanny is invited to go out to the Los Angeles territory, where a promoter by the name of Mike LaBelle ran the situation. And Rowdy Roddy Piper, another giant, of course, in the history of the business, was a huge heel in that territory against the Guerrero family. Of course, Eddie Guerrero, most people know, but all of his brothers and his father were wrestlers as well.
Chavo Sr.
Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely, Chavo Jr. And we have a situation out in L.A. where the thought is that Lanny can come in there. He knew a little bit of Spanish. He'd come in there and be a great heel against the Guerreros, because part of drawing a house back then was to be the heel that would say, borderline racist things about Hispanics to get people to want to show
Cheap
up
Heat, yeah.
to see the Guerreros kick his ass. And so this is an opportunity for Lanny, and he gets the call, but the problem was his father, Angelo Poffo, was going into business for himself, starting a wrestling promotion called the ICW down in the Kentucky, Memphis area. And so because he was starting this promotion, family first, he gets called into duty. And this is a theme for Lanny that we're about to hear, kind of a dream deferred.
Yeah.
Lanny's wrestling dreams always fell to the family priorities and Randy's priorities.
Yep, totally. Here we go.
What can I tell you about the ICW? That was my albatross for 7 years. And I was in Portland, Oregon, working for Don Owen, and I met Rowdy Roddy Piper. He took a liking to me, and he thought it would be great if I was a heel, a bad guy, a villain, working against the Guerreros, which is great because I speak Spanish, enough to get my face lapped and enough to get heat from the fans. So here I am on the phone with Mike LaBelle, and he says, Roddy Piper, he's not just a wrestler, he's like a son to me, and he said that you've got what it takes, and by God, we're going to bring you in and give you every opportunity to get over. And, sorry.
Brother.
Watch this. Boom! Take that! Full gallon. Do you think he fucks around?
Not at all.
For a second?
Not at all. He gets
full gallon.
Listen, all right? That's it. Give me the gallon.
Normally we call that a full sip, but it's definitely not a full sip here. All right, here we go.
This is what you get in Unheard, by the way.
Yeah, right.
Let's see.
Sorry.
It's okay.
He's panicking.
Doing a Hillary.
Brother.
What year was this? Oh,
You tell me.
I think it was 2018. So
Sounds right.
that doesn't really.
God.
Wow. Okay. Doing a Hillary. Okay, that should tell you everything you need to know. Here we go.
Okay. Do I have to say that again? And
Yes, say doing a Hillary again. Say it again.
Oh my God, amazing.
I was all excited, and I was practicing my Spanish and how I was going to insult the fans. And 2 weeks later, I get a call that we're going to start the ICW, and we're going to go opposition, and we need you to do the thing and be the baby face, and Randy will be the heel. And my photography, my writing, I do the programs. I'm in charge of the picture table, and my father and Randy are gonna fight over the book, and which is, who wrestles, who wins, who loses, and all that storyline stuff.
The matchmaker.
And I was faced with a very hard job to call up Mike LaBelle and say, thank you for the opportunity, but I can't come in. And what really hurt my feelings.
Yeah, that was a perfect dramatic.
Really, really
zoom.
well done.
Yeah,
nice
thank you.
Camera work.
You're welcome.
Was if he had been a jerk, I would have felt better about myself, but he was so nice about it that it made me feel even worse. And then I had to go to Roddy Piper, and I told him, thank you, but I have to go to the ICW. And he was even more nice about it, and that made me feel even worse.
So that's it for Lanny.
Hey, I understand the family obligations.
You can't hold it against him.
Yeah, but wait, so because just for people who don't know,
Yeah.
the ICW was the sort of Poffo family outlaw wrestling territory. 'Cause
Yeah,
they
going
ran
into areas that had already been
established
as belonging to another family.
to Memphis, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So
Yeah.
so they're starting up this mom and pop organization, and Lanny, no, you can't do that for yourself. You got to come back and work for the family. So you can see how crushing that would have been for him. And as you said, that's a kind of recurring theme, always having to kind of be the lowest position of priority in terms of the family dynamics. And in terms of what could have been. So
Absolutely.
It's like the George Bailey of the Savages.
Yeah, sure.
Mm.
Ooh, you nailed it.
there you go.
Harry Bailey's going off to war.
Yeah, right. Randy Savage
AKA
going
the
off to win.
WWF.
Randy Savage going off to win the world title.
But he comes with him. He does. But as Lanny is watching his brother become the Macho Man that we all know, Randy actually changed his name. He started in the business as the Spider.
Yes.
That was his first wrestling name.
Yes.
Kind of come back full circle with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
2010.
Bonesaw knows. Yeah. And at a certain point, Randy, and it's hard to believe this considering he's one of the best interviews we've ever seen in wrestling,
Ever.
comes to Lanny with a dilemma. And here, clip 5 is going to take us through it. As Lanny recalls, Randy was just having difficulty with a very important part of his presentation as he's trying to become a serious, multidimensional professional wrestler. And the rest ends up with an iconic phrase, an iconic catchphrase, and the rest is history.
Yes. Here we go.
And then he came to me with a serious dilemma. And he never came to me with dilemmas. He would come to me with my dilemma. And he says, you're really a great interview, but I'm not doing well. I just don't feel it. And he told me he had some type of anxiety attacks. He couldn't catch his breath, and he felt insecure, and he couldn't think of anything. And you won't believe it, but the greatest interview in the world was not always that way. Yeah. He came to me with his hat in his hand and said that I was a great interview. Could I help him?
Jeez.
And I said, well, who's the best interview you've ever seen? Since your gimmick, you've changed your name to Savage. You look like a savage. You wrestle like a savage. Who's the best savage type of interview you've ever seen? And I said, why don't you just steal it?
Yeah.
And he says, well, I think Courtesy Ikea and I think Pampero Firpo were the best I've ever seen. I said, remember when we were in Hawaii and Pampero Firpo was on the air and about 30 times a day? You are watching #1 station in Hawaii. Oh, yeah. See, he's Armenian, but he was raised in Argentina, and he had a very unique accent that nobody can imitate because that was strictly his. I said, why don't you read that line to me? And he says, you are watching the #1 station in Hawaii. Ooh, yeah. I said, I think
Sorry.
Yeah, that with the eyes wide. There's.
He does have the Randy kind
He
of.
does. He really does have.
Yeah,
The
he
eyes
has
are
the hands.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had a beard.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah, that's a
Totally.
good call. But he's landed on ooh yeah.
Yeah. Okay, here we go.
I think he's got it. It felt like money. So I said, Randy, that's it. And he spent the next 3 months in the bathroom mirror. And I promise you, he went from the worst to the first. From the zero to the hero. He became the greatest interview I've ever seen.
Yes.
What is he, a poet, that guy?
Yeah, it's almost like he's got away with words.
Right.
Yeah, Pampero Firpo, also known as the Wild Bull of the Pampas, was this crazy, bearded, wild-eyed
Yeah.
heel that would
Yeah.
wreak all kinds of havoc in certain wrestling territories. And that's where it came from. And he had that gravel to his voice.
I mean, that's wrestling. You know,
Yeah.
Every trope and trait and iconic thing in wrestling is borrowed from the past. I mean,
course.
Hulk
That's-
Hogan, superstar Billy Graham.
That's life
Yeah.
right
It's
there.
life.
And that's literature. That's everything.
Yeah.
You know, what do they say? Good writers borrow, great writers steal outright.
There you
right.
go.
Yeah,
There you go. Exactly.
And I always wonder, because, Randy had an untimely passing and wasn't one to do a lot of interviews. I do wonder if he'd agree with this version of where...
yes.
I know that he definitely got it from Pampero Firpo. I don't think anyone disputes that. And Randy was alive to dispute it if he wanted to. Whether it was Lanny who came to him and
Yes.
said,
I don't know.
that's a privileged position to
With
be
his
in.
hat in
Yes,
his hand.
indeed.
Yeah. Well, we'll give Lanny
Sure,
the benefit of
why
the
not?
doubt for
Why not?
this.
Yeah.
But that's always in the pro wrestling business. It's always worth making that proviso.
Exactly.
Sure. The
For
asterisks.
sure.
Yeah.
So let's pull up clip 6 because now Randy Savage is in the WWF. He comes in 1985, starts feuding with Hulk Hogan right away.
Mhm.
An absolute superstar from the jump.
Oh, yeah.
And Lanny follows Randy Savage into the WWF at a time when rock and wrestling was going crazy. The WWF was all over all the TV stations. These guys were big stars. And, essentially, Lanny characterizes it as he being brought into the WWF as a favor to his brother more than anything he accomplished on his own merits
Oh,
necessarily.
yeah.
And he starts doing a lot of acrobatics. He was a very gymnastic wrestler. He was able to do a lot of flips at a time. A lot of guys didn't do that. So that gets him noticed. And one time he had worn a suit of armor into the ring in the WWF, like a knight, like a serious medieval knight.
I remember that.
And he even showed up on the TNT Tuesday Night Titans talk show style format program hosted by Vince McMahon, wearing the armor. He wore it in the Battle Royal sometimes and
Oh
things
my
like
God.
that.
I think we might have shown him that footage while he's lying in bed.
Oh, really?
I think so. It's possible.
Oh, that's tremendous.
Yeah.
How
it's
how does a knight fall asleep in armor? You
Right.
got to be ready.
Yeah, right.
But he gets this thing,
Call him
this
sleeping Lanny Poffo.
this opportunity
Getting night and-
to go on Tuesday Night Titans with Vince. And if you know the show at all, it was short-lived, but this is your chance to really let your character out
Yep.
as a wrestler.
Yes.
Like,
Yep.
Vince is interviewing you like he's Johnny Carson or something.
Well, because also it was really amazing, the format and the idea that it was like a talk show on crack.
Oh, yeah.
In that you're, instead of having like 2 or 3 guests, it's like you've got like 15 guests on the show, and you're getting all these wrestlers on there to establish themselves. And
Yep.
it was really a brilliant idea
Yeah. It was
in some ways.
It was the kind of camp that caught the eye of like Dick Ebersol
Right.
at NBC
Right.
and
It's
things
a
like
great
that.
concept. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I big fan.
So here, Lanny gets a chance to come on TNT, and he doesn't want to be boring, and he's worried because baby faces can sometimes be boring. But he knows with Vince sitting right there, he's got to do something. What if Lanny wrote one of his first signature poems
Wow.
about the suit of armor?
Oh my God.
And here we go.
I
Look into his
remember
eyes.
this. I remember this. Okay, here we go.
And it went something like, look back through the annals of history and the Wrestling Hall of Fame, men from all nations with courage to spare who struggled to carve out a name. Now compare these high standards of valor to those chivalrous knights of yore, with bravery staunch as their armor, their glory both legend and lore. My medieval connection with wrestling relives that magnificent past, though mindless skeptics may snicker and scoff, the winner is he who laughs last. Alive with the love of wrestling, I appear on TNT between Vince and Awful Alfred, the hottest show on TV. I'm not your average wrestler, but I wouldn't want to be. I never scream or kiss my arms. I'm happy just being me. I call myself Leaping Lanny. I validate what I say to every single wrestling fan who's watching USA. Yes, I believe in miracles as God has blessed this great land. I believe the referee will soon be raising my hand. So we went to commercial, and Vince McMahon says, Lanny, that was great. From now on, you do a poem before every match. And I try to act blasé about it. But inside I was going, yes, because now I've got a gimmick, and a gimmick that I love. And I loved writing poems before every match. And I loved, especially when I turned villain, I became the genius. It was easier then because I could go to places like Omaha, Nebraska, and write a negative poem about the Cornhuskers because that's all they have.
Oh,
Because that's all they have.
what a shot at Omaha.
Yeah, because that's all they
Of
have.
all fucking places.
But we remember when he became the genius, the evil genius dressed in like a graduation robe, and he would, he would read from his scroll. and he
It's
would-
amazing.
That metal scroll was something special.
Weird stuff.
Really,
Weird stuff.
Really spectacular.
But someone's got to put a fat beat over that, you know?
Yeah.
And,
Oh my
That
God.
could be
yeah.
its own little
Totally. He should have had a rap album, I think.
thing. Is it
Imagine.
weird to sit with this guy and he just, without even missing a beat, just recites a poem?
Well, yes, but it's amazing. Those moments do happen, and I know, Jason and I, when we were filming this interview, perked up because anytime a wrestler, gets into promo mode or
Right.
decides to turn it on,
Yeah.
so to speak, it's
Yeah.
always very exciting. And that was, I remember, in these early days of this show, something we were really hoping that would happen because that's actually one of the reasons why we also felt the sort of direct-to-camera eye line
yeah,
would
that's a
really
signature.
Yeah, right.
would really work for the show because wrestlers are used to looking into the camera lens and speaking directly to the camera lens, for their promos and whatever. And so for these moments to sort of happen, it was great. And the way that camera sort of apparatus is he's seeing my face,
Mhm.
right? Over
Yeah.
it's kind of projected over the lens to get that sort of eye line correct. So it's always exciting when they're looking directly at you and going into
Totally.
that mode,
Yeah.
so to speak. So yes, weird but awesome.
But awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, he must have delivered that in '85. It must have been, and here he is, just like that.
Oh,
Yeah,
must have
off
been.
the top of the
perfect
dome.
recall.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I wish he answered all your interview questions as a
Oh.
poem. That would have been
It is not the
brilliant.
only poem he recites to you guys, but it's the only one I felt like putting in Unheard.
Okay.
That'd been
Let's put it
amazing.
that way.
Every
Sure.
every single answer is in rhyme.
Yes,
Well, he wrote about everybody in the locker room,
Yeah.
an individual poem about everyone he shared the locker room with in WWF in '85. And
Oh,
86
no
and
matter from the top of the card or the bottom of the card, they're all in here.
They're all in there, and
That's
that was given
wild.
to you by the man himself.
Yes.
So we know that if you could prepare clip 7 here,
Sure.
that the reason for sitting down with Lanny Poffo was an examination of the relationship between the Macho Man Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth.
Yes.
And we know how iconic a pair they were, how troubled a
totally.
pair they ended up being. And the
Sure.
episode does a great job plumbing into that and trying to figure out what the source of the tension was between Randy and Elizabeth, just
Yeah, and like the blurred lines of how their on-screen personas mirrored their off-screen personas, and we're always fascinated by that sort of aspect of the wrestling business of like where does your character start and stop, and can you once you turn it on, can you turn it off, and
Yeah.
that episode to me I think really captures that whole phenomenon in wrestling.
It
very
really
well.
does. And
Yeah.
I mean, we grew up with Randy and Liz.
course.
The big reunion they
That's it.
had, the match made in
Oh.
heaven and all that. Absolutely.
The most iconic moment ever.
I mean, I remember being absolutely. Someone told me. It's weird now to think about. Like, I had parents of friends of mine were wrestling fans, so I'd talk with them about wrestling, and I remember learning about the divorce months before it was announced.
Wow.
Yeah, like I remember like first reading about it in I think it was
The magazine.
September 1992 issue of W
Yeah.
Magazine, I believe,
Yes.
September
Yep,
92.
yep, yep.
And but I'd known, and I didn't believe my friend's parent. I was like, it's not true.
Yeah.
But then I read it, and I was like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some
Yeah.
famous
What do they
clips of
know?
him being
What do they
asked
know?
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In character.
Oh my god, the best clip ever is during it's Regis and Kathy Lee, and they're in this
I know.
massive thing. Oh,
It's-
and Kathy Lee asks about Miss Elizabeth, and it's like she didn't know they were divorced. Well, these things happen, but
Yep.
we are divorced.
I wish her the best.
Wish her the,
The
best.
best,
Like, oh my
yeah.
god,
It's
it's like
heartbreaking.
it's the most awkward thing.
Because he's
Yeah.
got to stay in character. You know,
Right.
He's dressed in this like
He's got-
bright neon.
Right,
Yeah.
it's all the bizarre colors and
Yeah.
shapes and stuff. It's like, oh my god,
Talking about
It's
his
like
divorce. Yeah. Brutal.
running out of the room
Ugh.
as that happens. It's
So,
horrifying.
Lanny, by virtue of being the brother and brother-in-law to Liz, had an eye on this. In fact, Randy met Liz while ICW was operating in the
That's right.
gym near there, and she was on ICW television
Mhm.
before she was ever in the WWF as like an interviewer and a
Wow.
television presenter. And here, Lanny talks about, what he's willing to say. about the roots of the conflict between the two and what came of the fallout between his brother and Elizabeth. So here we go.
Okay, here we go.
I guarantee you, I'm not telling tales out of school, but it was something about Elizabeth. It's always something about Elizabeth. That's what starts everything. If not Elizabeth, it'd be Yoko Ono and the Beatles break up. So
breaking up with
it's
Hulk
always
Hogan.
a woman.
Talking about the tension with him and Hulk Hogan.
I got you.
Right.
Always Yoko Ono or the Elizabeth. So you answered your own question.
I think it'd be amazing if the issue was that Savage had an issue with Yoko Ono. That'd be hilarious.
Oh, Yoko coming in.
Yoko's a big problem.
They're trying.
You know what, Hogan?
Yeah.
You got lust in your eyes
That's
for
what,
Yoko.
that's what he said. That's what he said. No, good thing it wasn't for Sonny Ono. But in terms of, if we could pull it back to the beginning.
I did.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Because, what's key here is that, and as the episode gets into, if you've seen it, Randy and Hogan have a huge falling out in real life.
Right.
And the episode, by talking to like Hogan's ex-wife and stuff, kind of gets at how Liz was kind of shacking up with the Hogans while she was trying to get away from Randy.
Right. I remember that. Yeah.
And this is what Lanny's willing to say about why Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage.
Because there's jealousy and there's, who knows, which again mirrored the real storyline.
Right.
Yeah, you're thinking, you got to ask him this question. This is what he's willing to say about the role Liz did or didn't play in Hogan and Savage's falling out.
Right.
I guarantee you, I'm not telling tales out of school, but it was something about Elizabeth. It's always something about Elizabeth. That's what starts everything. If not Elizabeth, it'd be Yoko Ono and the Beatles break up. So it's always a woman, and it's always Yoko Ono or the Elizabeth. So you answered your own question. Randy was trying to make it work. Elizabeth wanted out. And she finally got out, got the divorce lawyer, tried to remove as much money from Randy's wallet as she possibly could, and she succeeded. But from that point on, Randy went sky high, and Elizabeth went down circling the drain financially.
Jesus.
Wow.
Pretty straightforward.
Tough words there.
Jesus Christ.
But he was, dancing. He wasn't willing to go much more into it. He was dancing around. He said the key difference between him and Randy is Randy would see a mud puddle and jump in it, and he would try to walk around it.
Yeah.
There you go.
And so the history of the drama with Hogan and Savage, he considered a mud puddle.
I always loved the DVD, the Hogan 2002 DVD that came out, and he talked about Hogan like when later on when he's bringing Savage into WCW, and they got no brother, it's you and me go in the back, dude. Let's go in the back of the gym, brother. We'll have a 6-pack, kind of talk this thing out.
That's right.
I always love that. They're always talking about, always cracking open a 6-pack, and getting everything out on the table.
Well, one anecdote that I do remember from this day of doing this interview is, I think Lanny made it clear to us that he wasn't going to really get much into the interpersonal drama between Randy and Liz. That was an area in which he wasn't super comfortable commenting on. And so he did it in, his own way here, as you can see. But he was very defensive of his brother during the interview, and in terms of saying the stories that you've heard about Randy being very protective and overprotective, with her, were over exaggerated, and they were all kind of rumor and innuendo as far as, the boys are concerned. So he downplayed that very much in the interview. And then I remember after the interview was over, we're driving around, we're filming stuff, with Lanny at, where Randy had spread the ashes of his dog, his beloved dog Hercules. And also the crash site where Randy, Randy passed away. And I remember as we're driving around, he just turned to me, Lanny did, and it was basically like, everything they say about Randy is actually true. And, and I'm just looking at him with like fire in my eyes. Like, you mean you're going to tell me that you just lied during your entire interview?
Oh.
Everything we just did was complete bullshit. And I remember being very pissed off because I was like, if you're going to kayfabe, don't tell me.
Right, exactly.
Just wasted the whole fucking afternoon.
Were you able to kind of edit around it a little bit to like?
Well, I mean, obviously there are, this was early days
Sure.
for this episode, but there were obviously, others who contributed later on that, for this episode. But at the time, it was just like, wow, because I remember this was kind of a taxing interview from my recollection. And it's like, wow, here we are, get all this stuff, and you're just going to feed me all this horse shit and then tell me that it's horse shit.
Wow.
I was like,
When he says that, I take it to mean like, the stuff about Randy being paranoid and
that's what it is.
Is true, even though I wasn't willing to go there in the interview. I feel like what he's saying is what he left unsaid is true.
No,
not what he did say.
no. He was in the interview, from my recollection, very defensive over saying that everything that all the boys had said was not true, and and
about Randy in the locker room not wanting any of the wrestlers to look at it or talk to.
Yeah,
his wife.
the paranoia, the overprotectiveness. So it was just like kind of like, oh my God, like
it's just what I'm not expecting you to have an answer to this, but it's just weird. Like, who's he protecting? Like, everyone's dead, and like, what is it? What does it benefit? What does
the
he
legacy?
do?
I guess I don't know.
His legacy cemented.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, it's been
I know.
Whenever it was like 15. No, I guess it was like 7 years or whatever since he had died, and it's like it's done. Like, Savage he's good. Like, he's in the gold case there. You're not going to do anything about it. But
yeah. It was just like we weren't here to kind of do a kayfabe thing. We're here to get the real
We're not
real story.
Right.
And like, obviously, there's been several times on this show where we've walked away from an interview knowing, okay, that was all fucking bullshit.
Can you imagine taking the time to do an interview?
I know. That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
That's wrestling.
It was kind of like just wow, what a giant waste of time. Anyway, love you, Lanny. R.I.P.
Indeed.
Miss you, but,
Indeed. Well, he does get into, because this isn't about Liz and Randy so much here in clip 8, he does get into what he thought was a definitive line in the sand with Randy and WWF, and it was never the same after this to hear Lanny tell it. So he remembers a fallout that Randy and WWF had. It revolved around, again, their beloved father, the patriarch,
right.
Angelo Poffo. In '87, WWF was going to do a Legends Battle Royal, which you bring the old-timers back and everyone gets in the ring for a hurrah and throws everybody out. To hear Lanny tell it, it wasn't Vince that had anything to do with this, Vince McMahon. It was more Chief Jay Strongbow, who was a wrestler for the WWF for 20 years and was an agent at the time, someone who would help arrange matches and logistics, and Pat Patterson, who was also a former longtime WWF wrestler in his own right and a guy helping put together the shows. So here comes this Legends Battle Royal in 1987, and here Lanny tells the story about how Randy, who at that point was a really big star for the WWF, really wanted to get Angelo Poffo included in this Legends Battle Royal. And the way it plays out changed Randy Savage forever, to hear Lanny put it, and created an interesting dynamic that would lead to the very tail end of his life.
All right, let's take a look.
And it was very, very hard for my brother to swallow. And what he did, the very next
they told Randy
day,
Angelo could not be in the Battle Royal.
Okay.
I was in a town with my brother, and Chief Jay Strongbow comes into the locker room with a broken arm and his arm in a sling. And Randy says, "What happened to you?" And he says, "Well, that Luthez threw me over the top rope and I broke my arm." And right in front of the wrestlers, he says, "Luthez didn't break your arm. You're fat. You're a disgrace to the business and you broke your own arm." And I thought, is this the way he's going to act? And I told Randy, I said, "You can't act like this." "Why shouldn't I? I was nice to everybody for all those years, and they don't love me. They don't respect me, and they don't respect our family, so F them." He's going to act like that now. So he did. He acted like that now with everybody that he didn't like anymore. And then when my father passed away, March 4th, 2010, Randy got drunk after the funeral. He said, "You were a better son than I was."
Wow.
Whoa, that's pretty heavy. Sorry.
I said, "I don't think I was." He said, "Oh yeah, you were." I said, look what you did for our dad. You gave him that high-end hospital toilet seat.
What the fuck?
Sorry.
What the fuck?
Sorry. Okay. Sorry.
And that bed that goes, bzz, 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 all that. With your credit card, you did all that. You did. And when they were younger, you sent them on first-class trips to Israel, Japan, Hawaii, every place in Europe, until they begged you, please stop sending us places, we're tired. And I said, you were a better son than I was. No, you're a better son because no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't get that battle royal for Dad.
Wow. That's heavy.
And you know what's interesting about that, maybe underappreciated or under-considered, is there's so much speculation over, how did Randy and the WWF, go sideways, because there's a lot of, as we know, heavy, rumor and innuendo about the Stephanie McMahon and all that stuff, whatever. But maybe it's just, obviously, it's always the most simple answer. Maybe it's just the disrespect that was shown towards, his father, because Randy was so proud of his family and especially, loved his father and wanted his family to be accepted by, the WWF. And I'm sure, Vince, Angelo who, probably had no recollection of, I don't know, I'm speculating, but maybe that is as simple as what it was just the disrespect that was shown towards his family in his eyes,
Yeah, and the thing about Angelo Poffo, I'm no expert on his career, but it's not like he had a very remarkable career. It's not like he's like a no-brainer guy that everyone in the industry would consider a legend, but Randy wasn't about to tolerate that. That's his dad, and that's the guy who, as the very first clip we played demonstrated, allowed for the opulence, allowed for them to live in abundance. And
that means a lot, no matter what anyone else, no matter what your career is, no matter what he had, any kind of accolades that he had, the idea that he kind of sacrificed his own comfort for his children that's huge. I mean, that makes an imprint on somebody.
Right.
Absolutely.
And as much as Randy Savage, achieved, he felt like he couldn't pay it back.
And you're going to fucking travel. I don't fucking care, Dad. You're going to get in that airplane.
We're going to send
and
you
you're going to go everywhere.
Yeah.
That's right.
We're going to send you to Israel. And...
yeah.
You're going to go 5 times.
He couldn't pay it back to the family that made him the Macho Man or allowed him to become the Macho Man, including Lanny, who had to give up on his own dreams, in some ways, in ways that he remembers and ways that he feels relevant to bring up. So if we can cue up clip 9, we're going to talk here about the moment for Lanny that he actually gets some agency back in the decision-making, because as we know, Randy the Macho Man Savage was killed after suffering cardiac arrest behind the wheel of a car in Florida and crashing into a tree in 2011. Randy Savage died at the age of 58, and I think any wrestling fan of any vintage will remember that.
What a horrible day! I remember that day. I
remember. I thought it was. I almost thought it was a joke.
Yeah, it was all over the place too.
Yeah,
it was a huge news story at the time.
Terrible.
And so that rift going back to not allowing the dad in very much colored in the WWF Hall of Fame's view of Randy and his family, because a big thing in wrestling is the WWF puts you in their Hall of Fame. And Randy would always insist, according to Lanny, that if you're going to put the Macho Man Randy Savage in the WWF Hall of Fame, which, let's face it, the WWF Hall of Fame is a joke if the Macho Man isn't in it, and they always knew that.
Yeah.
You have to put the whole family in. You have to put me, my brother, and my father, Angelo Poffo, into the Hall of Fame as well, or I won't do it.
Cousins too?
Well, I don't know about that. I think the Von Erichs went in as a family.
That's right.
The Funks went in as a family. Others did as well. So he would insist on that, and it would not happen. And John Laurinaitis, who was kind of running the Hall of Fame back then in terms of like communicating with the wrestlers, asking them if they would be interested in joining the Hall of Fame back in 2015, calls Lanny Poffo about the Hall of Fame induction. And the mother, Randy Savage and Lanny Poffo's mother, did not want to move off the family position. Even though Randy was dead, even though Angelo was dead, didn't want to move off the position that the whole family needs to be inducted if the Macho Man's going to be inducted. Lanny has a poem about his dear mother in the Leaping Lanny book that I think might be in order here as we serenade her to talk a little bit about it. But it's a family member that he held dear, but the time was now to take that stand. So you
do you want me to read his poem?
I think I do.
Okay. I don't know if I can do the voice.
Maybe Lanny should do it in Lanny's voice.
Oh, I could do it.
You want to do it?
Yeah,
okay.
let's do it.
Right here.
I have a Jewish mother who made me go to school in spite of my resistance, and I could be a mule. Through years of aggravation, and she was stubborn too. Although not always popular, that's what she had to do. The clock would tick by slowly. Oh, what a price to pay. I finally earned my freedom on graduation day. Now that my book is finished, there's nothing left to do but thank my Jewish mother and tell her I love you.
Wow.
Look at that.
That's wild.
What
Amazing.
a rendition.
And that is the last poem in the book. That's it.
Is there? I mean, did the WWE ever make a? Did they ever say why they weren't willing to induct the whole family? Like, who cares? Like,
No,
No.
they
Yeah.
never talk about that kind of stuff. But they were sticking to it. They probably had some.
I mean,
problem.
Vince probably, I'm guessing, had some hard line on it.
I'm not inducting Lanny into the goddamn Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I think it was more. It seemed more about Angelo. It seemed more about the dad.
He ain't that big of a genius.
It's entire. I think it's more about Angelo. There's something there.
Yeah.
With the
There's
dad.
some beef.
He stepped
yeah.
on toes at some point.
Sure.
Who knows
Yeah,
what
who
it
knows?
is.
Yeah.
But Randy didn't have the clout to overcome that. But here, as clip 9 is going to demonstrate, despite his mother saying no, Lanny kind of realizes, Randy's gone, Dad's gone. He doesn't have to be the deferential younger brother
Yeah,
anymore.
this is Lanny taking the power back, and being at the lowest rung of the family hierarchy. Now he's kind of the surviving one, and he's gonna
make this call.
He's gonna make this call. He's in charge now.
I had a vision. I said, my God, I'm the older brother now. So I'm the alpha male because there's no competition. Now I get to make the unpopular decisions. And I remember when I was going to St. Louis, but I had to go to the ICW because I was the younger brother and I was overruled, even though I felt they were dream stealing me. I said, I'm going to go home and tell my mom what my epiphany was. She says, absolutely not. Randy's wishes were that the Poffos go into the Hall of Fame as a family. And I said, Mom, I already tried with John Laurinaitis. They don't want to do it. And now, in the words of Spock, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one.
He would have been great on Star Trek.
He would have
Lanny
been.
Poffo.
He actually would have been. He would have fit right.
He I could see it.
He would have been a great guest star, like a couple episodes.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, right. Yeah. The 4-ton torpedoes are might need maintenance. Okay, sorry. I don't know what Star Trek.
We are punishing the fans. The promoters, Vince McMahon, the boys, Randy and Lanny and all the boys and all the girls, nobody's more important than the fans. If it weren't for the fans, the sport doesn't exist. You take away the fans, you take away everything. Without demand, there is no supply. So I said to my mother, I'm going to do it anyway. Do you love me or do you not? She says, I still love you, but what about Randy? And I said, well, what about Lanny? When I wanted to go to Los Angeles and I went to the ICW, I said, we are punishing the fans. The fans made Randy the Macho Man. The fans gave Randy the Hall of Fame lifestyle. Randy has to go in the Hall of Fame, and he has to go by himself because that's the only way WWE wants it. And I will give the speech, and I will say in the speech that Randy was not only a great man, but I will tell them that he was a good man too. And I know how good he was. He was a benevolent man. He was a kind person. He had so much goodness in him that the fans need to know that. And what I was proud of that speech, it was the shortest speech they ever had, only 8 minutes. Everybody else goes on ad nauseum
Yes,
until people are falling asleep. George Burns said, have a great beginning and a great ending and put them as close together as you can, and that's a speech. And that's the speech I gave. I said Randy was good, not just great, because it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice. And I wanted people to know how nice he was.
Wow.
And he did. Lanny Poffo took the stage and said, among other things, in that 2015 Hall of Fame induction, life is too short to hold a grudge. It's time for us to heal.
He said he's the older brother. There's no other siblings.
Well, yeah, now he's older after being younger.
That's what he meant.
Oh, he's not a brother
He's
anymore.
not a brother.
That's
what
Kevin.
he's-
That's
Kevin
Kevin
Von Erich's line.
You can't take that.
Oh, I guess maybe that's what. Yeah, you're right.
I'm not even a brother anymore.
Yeah.
But you may have noticed as Lanny was talking, every now and then he'd gesture up with his hands. That WWE Hall of Fame ring was on his finger.
saw
yes,
that,
yes.
Very important.
What are
to
you
him.
doing with my ring?
I wasn't sure if I was hearing in the background of this clip and in one of the previous clips that there's like almost like thunder.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Yeah,
I heard that
and I
too.
wonder if that's Randy
Ooh,
trying to correct his brother.
Interject.
I believe it. I believe that.
correct him in a way that doesn't make him want to hang himself.
Yeah, right.
But unfortunately, Lanny Poffo did pass away.
Yeah.
of
What a
heart failure.
segue. Sorry, go ahead.
2023, we lost the genius.
Is the mother still alive?
No, she passed
She passed away before him or after him?
I think
Before.
before?
Was it? I don't know.
I think it's after because they're talking about putting Randy in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
He had
yeah,
passed
she's
on.
alive then, but as far
Yeah.
as he died in 2023,
Yeah.
Oh no, I think she passed away before Lanny. Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, not positive, but
Yeah.
age of 68, Lanny Poffo
Wild.
joining his brother Randy Savage. That will do it for us this week on Unheard. Remember, Dark Side of the Ring Season 6 will return on Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time on Vice TV. It is a look at the life and times of Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert.
Yes.
And do join us next week on Unheard because, well, we're going to get wild. We're going to get gritty. We're going to get real with
We're
a
gonna get-
true
We're gonna get too cold.
high flyer in this business. He is Too Cold Scorpio, and he had a lot to say to Dark Side cameras. So we'll see you next time on Unheard.